Welcome to this edition of Labor Vision. I'm Bob Delaney, Executive Director of the Institute for Labor Studies and Research. Labor Vision, a production of the Institute, focuses on topics of importance to working Rhode Island families. We hope you enjoy this evening's edition.
Good evening and welcome to this edition of Labor Vision. My name is Jim Riley. I'll be your host tonight. My guests tonight are from the Teamsters Union, Local 251. Local 251 is an organizing union. They organized DHLNH in 2017, which is an express delivery subcontractor, and they're still negotiating a contract. My guests tonight are Secretary-Treasurer of Local 251, Matt Taibi, and the DLNH driver, Sarong, Rath. Welcome. And tonight we're going to have a conversation about bad faith bargaining with a company that just doesn't believe in taking care of their hard-working employees. So, Matt, you're on strike right now, and it's 2017. You organized this particular stop, and still negotiating. How did we get here where we are?
So it's been almost a year. I mean, it's probably been a year since the organizing drive began, but it's been almost a year since certification of the unit. The company delayed quite a bit early on, violated labor law, federal labor law on a number of occasions. We had approximately 25 unfair labor practice charges at one time.
This is just during the organizing campaign.
This is just during organizing and shortly afterwards. They also have a history of wage theft, so there was wage and hour complaints with the Department of Labor and Training. They're getting ready to pay those out for non-payment of overtime on state holidays, and particularly. But so during this whole process, we've been able to actually raise wages on an interim basis from 25 cents an hour up to 75 cents an hour. And in order to continue the organizing drive, we had an interim agreement which guaranteed some labor peace, but also gave us some access to the premises from our union rep, and during negotiations, which was very helpful for us. But we've negotiated, we've done a lot. We've made a lot of advances in terms of getting a first contract, but it really comes down to nuts and bolts. Does the company value its employees, the couriers and dock workers that work for them, about 30 total, and do they believe in and will they actually agree to pay for family health care or health care in general? That's really
during the organizing campaign, as you know, I'm a union organizer. I've been organizing for, my first job in '84 as an international rep for the United Food and Commercial Workers Union, traveled all around the country. Did you find, how was the NLRB during the process? Were they slow? Did they move forward? How was your relationship with them during this process?
They're typically not the fastest, just in general, but we were able to.
You went to an election?
We did, yeah. We're still under the FASTA rules, so we had a quick election. We had a good vote on it. I believe it was 25-2, so it was a resounding vote, and we were able to get one terminated worker back to work with some back pay. Another terminated worker is still on appeal, and a number of other charges. So we were able to basically bargain over most of that, but the labor board did move the complaint on a lot of
And you had some wage and hour situations, as well as, from what I understand, not paying overtime on holidays.
Correct.
Did you find that the Department of Labor and Training in the state of Rhode Island works a lot faster than the federal government does?
They're very good.
Yeah, I don't, and no complaints about the job. I think Scott Jensen does a great job over there.
Very good.
Now, As usual, no new story. The glitch is the healthcare situation. Tell us about what's going on and why that's snagging up your negotiations going forward.
So this employer, even though their number one customer, only customer is DHL Express, which is
Big company.
a big company. It's owned by the German Post Office. It has a national labor contract with the Teamsters, where the workers enjoy good pay and benefits the way that a good middle class job should be. Now, this subcontractor doesn't believe in any of that, which is why the workers came to us. But so the average wage is 13 and a quarter an hour or so, and the dock worker makes a little over $11 an hour. So we're talking about low wage workers, working poor. A lot of folks that deserve a lot better for us working for a successful industry,
Absolutely.
highly profitable.
Mm-hmm.
E-commerce is growing in leaps and bounds. They need to grow with it. The employer does not offer an affordable health care. It may under the law, but certainly not for someone making $13 an hour to be able to afford to pay $1,700 a month or more for family health care. That's just a premium. Never mind a 20% coinsurance, never mind a $6,000 annual deductible and a $10,000 out-of-pocket maximum. We're talking about if you want health care, you pay for it yourself, and because of low wages, a lot of the workers just go to the Health Source RI, the exchange, or go without, risk a penalty under the law because they can't afford it.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, and the employer has said repeatedly that if you choose to have a family, if you choose to have kids, then you pay for it. You pay for your health care, and they're not responsible for it.
Mm-hmm. Well, Sarong, first let me shake your hand and congratulate you. I'm an organizer, organized all around the country, and always have great, deep respect for individuals who are workers who take leadership roles in organizing campaigns and right through the entire process. So congratulations, and I was always loved to have guys like you or gals like we could get on our campaigns who got directly involved and made the process so much easier, not only for us, but for your fellow workers as well by taking a leadership role. So this has been a whirlwind experience. I know what an organizing campaign is like for individuals working. And tell us about the experience. Tell us about the beginning of the organizing campaign, what the campaign was like, and then going through the negotiation process, and then to where we are now, which is out on the street.
Well, it's been an uphill battle. I mean, joining this is something new to me. I know it's a big, huge deal for me, fighting for local members and fighting for their livelihood, trying to make this a career instead of a throwaway job. Conditioning-wise.
Was it tough for you being on the inside while the organizing campaign was going on, and you knew that your bosses didn't want this, and maybe some of the workers were nervous about talking about it?
Right. It was just a constant battle with the union, working with the Teamsters like Matt and the drivers, but they didn't want us there. They wanted us out. They forced us out daily. We stuck together.
And what about, I'm sure that some of your fellow workers were afraid of what was going on. There's always that. And you obviously did very well. You did a good job helping your brothers and sisters organize. It's 25-2?
Right.
But that didn't happen right away. That happened after an organizing campaign, and it must have been a great experience for you.
Very.
Yeah, and what about the negotiating process? What do you? Well, let me ask you this: how was election day when you found out the elections and Felt pretty good, didn't you?
Very good, joyful.
That was my favorite time of organizing, when you knew you were going to win and you'd have this wonderful time. So then that's over and you go into the second phase, which is negotiations. What was that like? Still going
Still
on.
ongoing, very intense. Knowledgeable to me, first time.
Yeah.
It's just breathtaking.
Yeah,
Just
going back and forth.
going back and forth.
Yeah. So now you're out on strike, and I'm sure that you're still playing a huge role in the continuing. I mean, it's an organizing campaign from beginning to end, and then it begins after that, even after you have your contract. You need to keep the workers organized. So I know you're playing a role on the picket line. What's it been like keeping your spirits up for your fellow workers, and you're a leader in the workforce. Tell us about what's going on there.
It's very intense. Sometimes guys will come up to me and tell me, how long is this fight? Should we give up? But me applying that this is what we need. We need a change. We need to better ourselves. We can't work for a company like this.
I think you're moving forward. You're doing a great job. Congratulations. So we're in negotiations still, but we're also out on the street. And how is the company getting by? Are they having a difficulty? I'm sure they are with getting the job done. They're filling it with scabs.
They have scabs. They've had temporary replacement workers. They've coming from either management, other locations, otherwise. But a number of them just quit recently, including some supervision. They have said that they would hire permanent replacement workers if the workers did not accept their best offer recently. The group rejected that unanimously and chose to stay out and fight for a better deal. So far, the company's had a difficult time hiring replacements because usually in that type of situation they offer more money for scabs, and we've heard that they've offered less money, which is great for us because
they're doing everything wrong.
Yeah, they're doing everything wrong. Is really what it comes down to.
I noticed that the picket line, a lot of people in the labor community have been out there supporting you, both first of all, where is the facility? Tell us where it is.
The facility is in Pawtucket, Rhode Island, 101 Concord Street, Pawtucket, Rhode Island, and we've had great support from the labor community. Teamsters Joint Council 10 New England has done a great job of bringing folks from around New England. Rhode Island AFL-CIO and Rhode Island Jobs at Justice has promoted it, and people have come down and made donations to the strike fund, which we've passed along to supplement our own strike benefits for the group to keep everyone going. There's a grill there. They're cooking. We got coffee, donuts. Everyone's been very generous, and we appreciate that.
Okay, someone's watching. They realize that this is a typical situation where an employer wants people to work for peanuts.
You're out here fighting against a tyrant. Remember that. He is not a fair man. He looks at you as nothing more than a farm animal or a shovel that's, when it's broken, he'll get another shovel. Don't forget it. Corporate greed to the highest level. And let me tell you something, I've been around a long time. I've never met anybody quite like this guy. He is all about himself. So hang tough, hang strong, and we will get through this as brothers and sisters, right? Correct.
Yes.
All right, man. Hit the line.
And when they get up and they get organized and they say we want more, they stick their feet down and say no. So how can people help? How can folks out there that are listening today help?
Well, if you're a customer,
People like Sarong.
if you're a customer of DHLNH or DHL Express, call and complain. Call them up, call DHL Express, their customer service line, and say that they want their couriers to earn a living wage and a benefit package. Don't cross the line, come down to the line, make donations to our strike fund. Those are all things that people can do to support us.
All right, now how can we make a donation? Folks are watching. Just come down to the picket line.
Picket line, you can bring donuts, you can bring food for the grill, you can bring water.
All right.
That's all good stuff.
Well, it's been great to have you guys on.
Thank you.
I wish you well, my friend, and I'm proud of you. All the best. And that's it for this edition of Labor Vision. We'll see you next time.
On behalf of the staff and the Board of Trustees, I truly want to thank you for your commitment in coming tonight, your commitment for the last year, for the last 38 years, in making sure that the Institute can continue to do the fine work that it does. 38 years of building futures and changing lives. On average, we touch the lives of anywhere between 9,000 and 11,000 students a year. Some of it's online, most of it is face-to-face. You will get to see many of the students that participate in our programs tonight. We highlight in particular our Leadership for a Future class and our ESL students, and most of the back tables down here, we changed the rules this year. We fed them first so that when they come up on the stage, they get a chance to have eaten. So congratulations to all of the students. Thank you for participating. I want to take a couple of minutes to thank so many people for the work that they've done to ensure the success of the Institute. We're actually a pretty small staff in the office. We have a fairly large teaching staff in our ESL, in our Leadership for a Future, in our Teacher Assistant Training Program, and our Pathways to Apprenticeship, and all of the other programs that you will get to hear about tonight, and that Jimmy will individually recognize some of the faculty who participate and make sure that those programs continue to run. I also want to thank, if you take a look in the center of your book, I want you to take 2 seconds now and recognize that without your support and without the support of, and I'm hoping the center page isn't missing because I'm looking and I'm getting embarrassed up here. One over from the center of the book. They are all the people that ensure that we can continue to offer these programs through their financial support, through their offering of instructors, and all of the other things that they participate in allow us to continue these programs. But I want to recognize in particular the people that make this ship sail every day. I'm very fortunate that when I go into the office, there's a group of people and we all work together. There's no bosses. We just work together to ensure that the programs that need to be done are done effectively. But tonight, I want to recognize some individuals, and I'm sure most of them are in the room, or I'm hoping they're in the room and not running around trying to get a few other odds and ends completed. And if you'd stand when I mention your name, Roberta Nelson. Where are you, Roberta? Desiree Leclerc. Some of the people from UFCW in particular will recognize this name, Jimmy Riley. Okay, let's all get in on the tradition. Here's the tradition. When Jimmy Riley is introduced, it's not because they don't like him, they just boo him. So let me do it for everybody. I want to introduce Jimmy Riley. Okay, Jimmy, you're done for the night, pal. Sylvia Melgar. Sylvia Melgar is the executive coordinator. Sabine Adrian, down back. Fatima Martin. Rosalie Santiago. And there's a guy down the back and on Labor Vision who's been around for a long time, Paul Hubbard. For the best part of this year, we've been very fortunate. We work with the governor's office, or with the state office of internship, and they asked us if we would participate in the program, and we have for a while now, but this year we were very fortunate in particular to have an intern come and intern with us, but someone who's agreed to stay beyond the internship. She works with us. She was enrolled in the leadership for a future class. She's a student at Providence College, and I want to thank her for her help, Silvana Mercado. And I promised I wouldn't be long tonight, but there's a couple of things that I really want to do. I want you to turn to the back cover of your book. Everybody recognizes this guy. And I couldn't really say enough about him. I can tell you that a long time ago, he made a call to me and offered a position, and this position I said no. He said, well, just think about it and I'll call you back. You never say no to Frank Montanaro. And because of that, I took this position and feel so fortunate to have had the opportunity. I would like to take a minute tonight, a minute of silence, to recognize Frank Montanaro, former chair of the Board of Labor Studies and Research, former president of the AFL-CIO for Rhode Island, and former president of the Rhode Island State Association of Firefighters. Thanks, Frank. You'll never be forgotten. Frank's footsteps were followed by the new chair of the board for the Institute for Labor Studies and Research. And when he came on the board, the first thing I had to say to George Nee was, yeah, we're okay. We have some financial issues we have to deal with, but we're okay. And but he didn't really know what okay was. And I think it's really important for us to take a moment to thank the Board of Trustees, but in particular George Nee, for the leadership that he has shown as the chair of the Board of Trustees and following the footsteps of Frank Montanaro as the president of the Rhode Island AFL-CIO. George, the Institute, you know, runs on about $1.25 million budget a year. And for many years, we used to get funding from the state. And in some ways, I'm kind of glad we don't anymore, because it really encouraged the situation where organized labor stepped up and was committed to its education and training at the Institute. And much of that happened because of George's leadership, the leadership at the executive table of the AFL-CIO under George's guidance. So George, thank you very much for following Frank's footsteps and for what you do. Having said that, I want to call George to the stage to introduce our guest speaker tonight.
Thank you, Bob. Before I introduce the keynote speaker, I also would like to recognize Sylvia Melger, who came from, I'm not supposed to do this, I'm doing it anyway. Sylvia just came from graduating from CCRI tonight. Sometimes they don't give me all the scripts. On behalf of the Institute for Labor Studies and Research, we have just a tremendous opportunity tonight to hear from one of the leading figures in the American labor movement today, Mark Perrone, who's the president of the United Food and Commercial Workers. And just want to express our gratitude for taking the time to come here and share your thoughts with us and what's happening with the UFCW and the American labor movement. And I think that all of you will recognize that he's one of us. You look around this room, a lot of people start at jobs, then they pursue education. Mark did the same thing. He started in a grocery store, worked his way through college, got a college degree. And that's not easy, because a lot of you have done that. So he understands what people go through who are trying to work for a living and improve their educational experience and their lot in life. But then, like many of you here in this room, he began his career with the UFCW as an organizer. As an organizer, the most important job in the labor movement, because if we don't grow, we die. And he understood that from the beginning of his career with the labor movement. And when he became the president of the UFCW, he made organizing the top priority, and as some unions have declined in membership, but that's not going to happen for much longer, the UFCW has been growing and expanding and going into different jurisdictions, and again, reaching out to some of the people who have been left behind in our society and in our economy. So he's been organizing among the immigrant community and the undocumented workers. He's not afraid to take on those kind of struggles. And we are extremely grateful for his leadership in that area. And recently, again, something that is dear to a lot of people in this room who have struggled with these issues, he was asked to co-chair at the AFL-CIO level, and I want to get this name right, the AFL-CIO Commission on Racial and Economic Justice. And that wasn't easy, because it was happening at a time where there were a lot of problems in our country, and still are. And he went out on a hearing tour and listened to people and got them to tell their stories. And it wasn't easy, and it was very, very difficult. So again, it is my honor to ask Mark to come up and share his thoughts with us. Mark Perrone, International President of the United Food and Commercial Workers Union.
Everybody sit down, please. For all the labor unions in the hall, the UFCW is not expanding their jurisdiction into any of your areas, I can promise you that. We are, in fact, however, trying to look at organizing in a very different way, and I think that we've done some of that. You know, I'd like to congratulate Robert for the work that you do, George for the kind introduction. I also want to thank Jim Riley. I know. Both for his years' service to the UFCW and the labor movement, and I think one of Rhode Island's most recent Hall of Fame members. But I do want to give a special thanks to the Institute for Labor Studies and Research, quite honestly, for the opportunity to speak in front of this group today. The role of this institute, quite frankly, is increasingly unique in our society. The organization is solely dedicated to improving the lives of the hardworking men and women of Rhode Island. Your mission is truly selfless. From adult literacy to preparing the next generation of leaders, from helping train our stewards to teaching workers about their rights on the job, the ILSR ultimately helps prove a defining lesson that we can never forget. The power that we have to change communities, our nations, our world that we live in for the better is a power that truly lies within all of us as individuals. It's defined in the moments in which we choose to act or not act. While the realities of misfortune, suffering, and inequality are not new to America or any society, they do persist for a reason. They persist when leaders ignore their responsibilities.
Thank you for joining us for this edition of Labor Vision. We appreciate your input and encourage your comments. Labor Vision can be seen on this channel 3 times each week: Tuesday at 7 p.m., Thursday at 8 p.m., and Saturday at 5 p.m.